So a neighborhood, any of my neighborhoods in my district or anybody else's, small lot, somebody decides to buy a affordable old motorhome, stick it in their backyard and live there, rent it out, have family, whatever it might be. Is that prohibited?
Correct. This is just for camping. So under this ordinance, they could do, they could camp for no more than 14 days within a 60-day period. Anything in excess of that, they would be required to get a temporary pump and haul permit, which are valid for 12 months. So this is not intended to establish a second dwelling unit on your property.
But it kind of does, because all you have to do is get a, like you said, get a permit, and you can live there for a year.
It should be, and that was one of the items that had been a concern of the board when we did an amendment for, I think a scenario was Mr. Skinner had a constituent, I believe, whose home had burned down, who wanted to live in his camper while he rebuilt his home. Under this ordinance, that he would be able to apply for the temporary pump and haul permit for a year.
Well, and I'm concerned for people taking advantage of it. I mean, we've had, and I don't know if you were in this position at the time, but there were a couple of houses that had garages detached, sort of set back in their backyard, and they were converted into housing, basically, and lots of people were stuffed in there. And that took a while to go through the process, to observe it, to figure it out. I mean, they literally ran a garden hose up and threw it into the window. And the neighbors around there shouldn't have to deal with that. So what I don't want to do is open up a scenario where we permit something like that to occur. But then again, I also don't want to make it illegal to use your own property if you have an RV and stay out there with your kids, your family, or if your in-laws come for a weekend or something. I don't want to be restrictive of that either. So how is it that we can get to that point that the regulation is tight enough that we don't let people take advantage of it? Because I think if you're coming back and you can renew your permit for up to a year, somebody should at least raise an eyebrow and go, wait a second, you know, what's going on here? What, you know, this isn't just a weekend thing. This isn't just an extra week, or, you know, you have a week off, whatever you want to do, something like that. This is turning into more of a problem. Do we have anything in place to catch something like that so that we can then maybe move that to another category where we then take a look at it? Because I don't want to open up that door and have people have to deal with a motorhome sitting in their backyard of their neighbors and somebody living there, and then the headaches that goes through to get rid of that.
Absolutely. And we do not want to create a scenario where we are permitting multiple dwelling units on a property. The temporary pump and haul permit, and I will defer to VDH representatives to speak to this, is a one and you're done process. So while the property owner could, if they wanted to exceed that 14-day time limit, could apply for the temporary pump and haul, it's valid for 12 months, and it's a one and you're done.
I'm sorry, but again, to Mr. Skinner's question, if there's no limit to what size that can be, I mean, we can conjure up some pretty nasty images of what might occur with some drums, you know, that are exterior sitting on property. I mean, this can get out of hand. And so I'm not saying that it will, and I don't want to penalize people that aren't going to do that. But I just want to make sure that we have a policy in place that once that is triggered, we have enforcement that's activated, because it's not right for the neighbors to have to deal with a situation that we basically have created.
So the formation of this ordinance was the balancing act to allow camping to occur as camping is intended, in a temporary way, but also to address some of those hardship cases that some of the members of the board had been contacted about. It is the option to go back and revise this language to eliminate for that option to exceed the 14 days in a 60-day period. We can just take that out of the ordinance if you just want to keep it to you can camp on your property for 14 days, no more than 14 days within a 60-day period.
Well, could it also be that the holding tank has to be, you know, part of the what you're staying in, so that you don't have an exterior one that you just built and stick your sewage pipe into, something like that. And then also, is there no way for us to create a waiver for hardships for somebody who, their house burnt down and they need to stay there for a little bit more time, that there's a way for them to apply and an avenue for them to go through that doesn't open it up for everybody else that might be taking advantage of it or wanting to take advantage of that? Is there a way to do that?
Yes, sir. There's a way to do whatever you wish to do. This was the simplest way to just go in and revise Section 1410. I think the condition about the holding tank is something that can be addressed in Section 1410. I think another permitting option to allow for hardship cases would require an amendment to a different section of the ordinance. And so.
Okay. I appreciate the answers. I just think that these are some things, there's no rush to do this right now, and I would almost like to, go through it and just make sure that what we're actually enacting is not going to create even more problems.